Off the top tonight, we begin with that unprecedented uprising. Calls for change in Cuba resonating loudly right here in South Florida as thousands take to the streets of Little Havana, setting off what could be the long-awaited turning point for that island nation.
All of this mirroring the movement going on in the country right now. Cubans on the island demanding freedom and help amid a humanitarian crisis. It's a battle that's stretched for generations, but may now be reaching the boiling point.
Our team is converging and covering every angle of this story. Local 10's Hatzel Vela leads us off tonight with the latest developments just into the newsroom. Hatzel.
So Laren and Alex, in communist Cuba, we have seen protests before, but never in the 62 years since Fidel Castro took over have we seen protests this massive and as expansive. Down with the dictatorship, down with the Castros. Not sound from Miami, but from Havana. Proof Cubans have lost their fear of government as the country plunges into a serious political, social, and economic downturn. The government has money to build hotels, this man tells us, but the Cuban people are starving. Lack of food, medicine, an out-of-control pandemic, and a failing state-run economy are partly the reason thousands of Cubans are taking to the streets. Throughout the day, the videos kept popping up on social media. It seems like the first social outcry started in San Antonio de los Baños, a small town 20 miles south of Havana. Then we heard people took to the streets in Matanzas, Palma Soriano, Bayamo, Santiago de Cuba, and in Havana. This is video from the famous waterfront Malecón, where you hear people chanting. This man tells the camera it's over, likely talking about the 62-year-old revolution. People chanting freedom. At times, Cubans without fear confronting the police and the fight scene here. In this video, Cubans turn over a police car. Hundreds also seen at the center of town near the historic Capitolio building.
Pueblo salió a expresarse libremente y están reprimiendo y están dando golpes y eso es inadmisible.
This Catholic priest told us Cubans simply came out to express themselves freely and they're oppressing and beating people, adding this was unacceptable. Despite years of religious oppression, today in the town of Bejucal, also south of Havana, we saw people gather around the image of the patron saint, La Virgen de la Caridad, while asking for freedom. The government is cracking down, arresting many and sending out the military to patrol the streets. Cuba's president blames the protest on U.S. intervention.
Y por eso también aquí estamos convocando.
And urges pro-government revolutionaries to take to the streets and counter-protest. And so some tonight are telling us that's concerning. My sources in Cuba tell me they fear that this call to action by the president is simply pitting Cubans against Cubans, and there could be bloodshed, they say. For now, reporting live from the newsroom, Hatzel Vela, send it back to you.
And Hatzel, you mentioned bloodshed there. Have you had any reports from any of your sources that in fact is happening to a certain extent? Are we hearing those types of reports at this hour?
You're right. It's happening to a certain extent. And when I say that, just minor incidents with police, we have seen some video where we have seen some folks with bloody faces. And again, we also saw an Associated Press photographer who was injured, but we're told he's doing just fine, that they're checking to make sure everything's okay, but he's expected to be okay.
All right. Hatzel, thank you.
And our team coverage now turns from Havana to right here at home.
Local 10's Terrell Fournay is live in Little Havana with the massive show of support that's still going strong hours later. Terrell.
And here we are just after 11 o'clock tonight, and take a look at just how many people are behind me. These folks have just as much momentum now as they did when they first arrived just after 3 o'clock this afternoon. One man actually came up to me a short time ago and tells me that he's been very moved by what he is seeing out of those images in Cuba. He really says that he's waited 62 years to see a day just like today. Their message is just as symbolic as it is meticulous.
The Cuban people have been demanding human rights for 62 years.
It's been a long time coming.
We just want to be free, we want food, we want supplies.
90 miles away from the communist island of Cuba, South Floridians gathered by the hundreds with Cuban flags and signs right outside of Versailles restaurant in Little Havana. And even as far south as Key West, where demonstrators used more horns and other noisemakers to draw attention to Cuba's humanitarian crisis, which has hit a boiling point for people living there and their loved ones who feel helpless here.
Hope is going bad. We don't have vaccines. We don't have enough supplies in the hospitals. People are dying.
That's true, man. That's true.
And right now, we just want to get back to our people, man, because we come from that struggle.
I want to see the president to see something and to do something for Cuba now, because this is the moment. If not, they're going to kill the people in Cuba, and this is going to be for nothing.
So many people moved by the risky protests in Cuba showed up to line Southwest 8th Street for much of Sunday. So much so that police were forced to shut down the roadway for safety and to give demonstrators space.
The end of the Castro regime, the end of the communist regime in Cuba is not negotiable. Today is the day that Cubans want their freedom.
City of Miami Mayor Francis Suarez showed up to express his solidarity for the Cuban people, and County Mayor Daniela Levine Cava was moved enough to make an impromptu appearance.
Hope that all of this incredible support will help move the island to freedom. I hope that we're going to be able to bring democracy to Cuba with this effort.
This is a first step, and this is a first for many steps.
First of many steps, because change does not happen overnight, but people here are really optimistic that this really is the dawn of a new day for the people who live in Cuba. The City of Miami Police Department, they have been out here in force, rerouting traffic around this area and keeping an eye on the crowd. In fact, as of right now, Southwest 32nd Avenue, between 32nd Avenue and 37th Avenues remains shut down here along Southwest 8th Street. So it's unclear how long the folks will be out here continuing their demonstrations, but we will certainly have another update for you on the Local 10 Morning News. For now, that's the latest live from Little Havana. I'm Terrell Forney, Local 10 News.